Let's get started.
J.C. Sherbert. Woo! 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 Woo!
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
The electricity here in Columbia, well, has been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the raid breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He makes it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherbert.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
As Coach Tanner once said, hey, Gamecock fans, welcome to the Final Four. Tonight, the ladies will take the floor at 9 p.m. Eastern in what is set to be a classic between South Carolina and Iowa. The Stars are out. On the women's side, the men will go tomorrow, and baseball will go all weekend. And now until October. Greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard Inside the Gamecocks, the show from the Signorama Studios and presented by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Signorama is the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics. If you're watching, you can look behind me and you'll find that they can do pretty much everything. But they can also do the little things too, like tablecloths or car wraps or whatever it may be. They are Gamecock owned and operated. And if you need anything in that industry at all, if you own a business or anything that you could possibly dream of, like a baseball field that might need signs, it's Signorama, signorama.com for more information. JC and Phil and I'm JB. We're here until 1 o'clock today. We'll be joined in 10 minutes by Stuart Lake as he will look back on last night's Game 1 victory for South Carolina and ahead to tonight and tomorrow. And let's just see how far Carolina could take this thing. Every time they play, they seem to break another program record. Right now, times are good for the Gamecocks. So a lot to come on the baseball front. Some things happened in the game last night we're certainly going to discuss today. The big leagues, they're underway. The Braves are on pace to go 162-0 this season. That would be a record in Major League Baseball, so we'll certainly pull for them to get there. We've got a big commitment coming up tonight. JC will fill us in on the recruiting front for Gamecock football and maybe where tonight some things could start kind of rolling in their favor once again. And as I mentioned, it's Final Four weekend. I love this setup, guys. Tonight is a 2 TV night. If you are anything like me, the baseball on one side, hoops on the other, vodka in one hand or bourbon, and let the chips fall where they may. Sorry I missed yesterday, but certainly glad to be back with the both of you. By the way, we'll also be joined today by Sawyer Nix as he squeezes in an episode of The Mental Edge right here on our program as well. But what's up, guys?
Well, I don't often find myself allowing the chips to fall while I have a drink in one hand and 2 TVs on, though, JB.
Yeah. You eat all the chips, don't you?
That's right. Yes. Not very many of them hit the ground.
Yeah. Hey, JC.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be back today, and certainly some anxious moments in the game last night. And of course, we will talk to Stuart Lake here in a minute. I'm a little concerned about the injury situation with baseball right now. But you quoted Coach Tanner at the top. I mean, what did he always say? Win anyway, and all that. But Hornig's foot, and I talked to John Whittle, and he has a report up on thebigspur.com. Yeah. It's a slight fracture. He can still bat, but can't run right now. Yeah. They need that to heal up because they need him. And with McGillis out as well, this team does have some depth. Obviously, Braswell had a nice game last night, obviously. But, it's starting to – concerns me a little bit. Now, at least it's not pitching staff injuries because that obviously was the bugaboo last year. But certainly that was my biggest takeaway from last night was, is Carson going to be okay, But, man, Cole Messina – continues to rip it. Me and Phil had a talk yesterday about the 1980s Braves were like the worst looking team in major and and all that. And Carson is not at that level, but man, he's got that look, that slugger look with the long hair and the beard and stuff, And so I really not Carson, Cole Messina has that look, and I'm like, man, that dude's a ball player. And he continues to knock the cover off of it and play really, really well. And Ethan Petrie. And, I mean, this is a good baseball team. And last night, there was some adversity toward the end. Mississippi State, very chippy to be a loser of 18 straight SEC games. But that's kind of the way the game's played now. And certainly looking forward to watching Iowa and South Carolina tonight. My feeling about that game, I said it yesterday here and on the Spurs Up show. I think Carolina wears them down and blows them out. I do too. By the second half. I think, as good as Caitlin Clark is, and I have my little spiel about the good player versus good team. You look at that Maryland squad last week playing Dawn Staley's team, and look, man, they were dragging by the end. I mean, they just ran out of gas. I mean, they could not match Carolina's depth. And I expect, some competitive moments early, but then after that, they'll take it to them. The team that concerns me in this whole thing is LSU. I honestly, I think, with Virginia Tech, that's not a program that's been on this stage a whole lot. And LSU hasn't in a while, but Kim Mulkey certainly has. And I think they've answered all their questions about their week schedule by getting to the Final Four. And I think they're probably a much better team than the one Carolina blew out in Columbia. And you can bet they'll be ready if they happen to beat Virginia Tech tonight and advance. So that's my take on that. That's my hot takes and sausage. Woo!
And now we get to Phil. That broadcasting school sure is paying off for you. Yeah, I know. I'm excited about the women's Final Four tonight, not just the Carolina game, Phil. I'm excited to see LSU. I think we, as SEC folks around here, have a great opportunity for the best two teams in the league to end up being the best two teams in the country on center stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think today is just kind of a stepping stone to really kind of reemphasize what was a lackluster matchup at the CLA earlier with LSU. Although, don't get me wrong, it will not hurt my feelings if Virginia Tech ends up pulling their win off heading into that. Yeah, because it was like, whatever, it's LSU. I still think they're a couple years away from really being able to truly compete. And then, of course, we get what I said yesterday was the flashiest player tonight against the best player. Although, love to hear Aaliyah Boston's comments when asked about, Boston versus Clark. And, of course, she handled it with such poise and grace, team game and all that. But, this means a lot to her tonight.
Well, it does. And everybody's making a lot of Aaliyah and Caitlin Clark picked up yesterday picked up a National Player of the Year award, deservedly so. She's outstanding. It's not like they're going to be guarding each other. I mean, these are two different players, and I think that's a media thing that's kind of been overblown. But at the end of the day, you're still going to see the stars in the ball game, and Carolina's got a lot of stars, and Iowa knows it's not a secret. You kind of do need to stop Aaliyah Boston. I think where people miss. They kind of misdiagnose Aaliyah Boston publicly. The coaches certainly don't. But it's like, you got to slow her down. You have to stop her from rebounding. Right. You have to stop her. You have to stop her from manufacturing points. You get the ball in the paint with Aaliyah Boston, she can score, but she also knows how to find the open shot. And that's really where it's hard to control her. And then it's hard to control her on the boards. And she generally every game gives them 8 to 10 extra chances on the offensive side alone before you even get to the defensive side, to put points back up in the hoop. So, two different brands of basketball between the two best players in the country, if you ask me. And then you JC, you hit the nail on the head. I'm with you on what's her name? Angel Reese with LSU and what they could bring to the table in the national championship game. So should be a lot of fun tonight. Carolina holds on last night in baseball to win 6-4 at Mississippi State. I think that that's who Mississippi State is. You mentioned their chippiness, and I know we got to go because Stuart Lake's coming in, but that's Chris Lemonis. He's not going to let them quit. He won't let them quit. If somebody quits, they're quitting on their own. But, they take on his personality. He got thrown out of the game last night. I don't blame him. The guy behind the plate wasn't very good at times. His zone moved for both teams. It was bad for Carolina at times. He wasn't giving anything in the bottom of the strike zone. The ball that Messina hit out came after the ball that probably should have been strike 3. Carolina had already missed on a couple of those, and it cost them a run. The league office royally screwed up that HBP on Gavin Cassis. I continue to wonder, how is this the best league in the country on and off the field, on and off the court, and all these amazing sports, but their officiating and their umpiring never gets better? I don't get it. But maybe Stuart Lake understands better than us and probably better than most. So we'll hit a timeout, and when we return, Coach Lake will join us, give his thoughts on last night's game moving forward. And maybe he's got some thoughts on both Final Fours as well. He said he can't bet. Obviously, he's a school employee, but maybe he can at least pick a winner for us. So I didn't mention this, by the way, and y'all already saw one of the pictures. The 13 best and craziest ballpark foods list is out. And I've got a photo of the wildest ballpark food I've ever seen, ever. And I'm not going to tell you where it is, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the show as well. So we should have a lot of fun around here on a Friday. Everybody hang tight. We'll be right back. Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The real estate market has changed dramatically from just a year ago. Rates, supply, demand, all of your traditional factors are in a transition phase. That's why if you or someone you know are considering making a move in the low country, contact me, JB, at Coast to Coast Realty. I work with an outstanding support cast of attorneys, lenders, inspectors, insurance agents, and more, all of whom are valuable in helping find a way for you to comfortably make your real estate decision. That's right. Call me, JB, your low country real estate broadcaster.
Traveling to cheer on the Gamecocks? Reserve your hotel stay with Fan Plans. Your booking supports Inside the Gamecocks and the Big Spur, plus you still earn your hotel loyalty points. Visit fanplans.com/Inside the Gamecocks.
What's up, Gamecock Nation? This is Jakar Moore from the DMV, and you are listening to the show.
Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. And, of course, joining us now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line, none other than Coach Stuart Lake. Coach, good to see you. How you feeling this morning?
Feeling good. How are you guys catching up a little bit, listening to y'all? So excited to spend a few minutes.
Man,
awesome.
Look, that hat, both King and Danny Lloyd promised me one of those hats 2 years ago, and I still haven't gotten it. Do you have any pull in the hat department?
Yeah, we'll see. This was a custom-made hat a few years ago. I don't know if I got a few laying around anymore or not, but since I've become the hat guy on this show, I figured I'd bust out some new stuff every so often, or really old stuff, but new to the show.
Well, I actually talked to Danny this morning. I meant to bring it up with him because wasn't it a parent or something that designed that hat? Coach
It was. I forget whose it was. It was a couple years ago, and instead of just making a donation, they kind of did this, gave us all to travel, and I think it was a garnet one and this black one.
Well, promises unfulfilled, so that starts at the top. I'll take that up with Kingston. Actually, no. We know the drill around here. It's Coach Tanner's fault. So I'll blame Coach Tanner on that one.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, Coach, so they win last night. A lot of stuff to unpack from game one. This is the first time we've had you because they played on a Thursday, so you actually get to look back on something here. Some hot takes, I guess, maybe. A lot to unpack in the game. Certainly some big hits. Braswell comes through. How about Dylan Brewer last night? Petrie and Messina, you're almost getting used to it. They go yard. So that's good to see. Left a lot of runs out there too. There's no doubt. And then of course we knew going into the game that Eli was going to get the go, and Will Sanders is probably more than likely going to have the whole weekend off. So as you kind of unpackage, and we'll get to the HBP and limo getting tossed and all that type of stuff from last night. But as you kind of unpackage what you saw at the end of the day, Coach, it's another win on the road in the SEC, regardless of how good or bad that team's been playing.
Yeah, I kind of came in the middle. My son had a high school game, so I was following it on the phone. Got home about the fourth or fifth inning. It was 1-1, I believe, at that point when I got it on, so maybe the fourth inning. But, yeah, a win, number one, it's always about the win and the runs. So I didn't even realize, I don't have a box score in front of me as the game ends, as I start seeing some people who must. I didn't realize 17 strikeouts, 14 left on base, those type numbers. So yeah, that's pretty incredible to be able to win on the road with those numbers. But I did. I saw some big hits. I think Braswell is going to find himself in the lineup again. You got to say the guy's taking advantage of every opportunity he's been given. And it was just any time you went on the road is big. And I know, and we'll talk about Mississippi State is struggling, but it's hard to win at Mississippi State. And I'm not sure on Thursday night, and with them losing, their crowd was as intense as it has been, but still a really tough place to win. And when you do, you feel good about it.
How about Eli in his start last night, taking on that role on the road in the SEC?
Yeah, it's one of those nights, and I'm not sure the weather today. I saw where weather may be an issue there today. I don't know if y'all followed up with it. I know it's a 7 o'clock game, and if so, that would mean 2 7-inning games tomorrow, because if I think I'm right, I don't think they could stay and play on Sunday. So it'll be interesting today to see if they get this game in, because I'm saying all that. A lot of guys came out of that bullpen last night that one day off would be a nice rest if it turns out to be 2 7s. And I would certainly think 2 7s would favor the Gamecocks with, Noah Hall and Mahoney being your 2 starters in those games, if that would happen.
Yeah, I'm pulling it. I'm with you. I've been watching this for the last couple of days. And this morning it showed 9 o'clock as to when it looks like weather would begin to arrive in Starkville, Coach. So I was actually kind of surprised by this, that we hadn't maybe heard of an announcement to move this start up a couple of hours, because it's kind of the as far as, I'm not a weather guy. I'm not meteorologist Rob Fowler. Sure. But the last couple of days it's been showing that it would be arriving late evening. So I thought, well, maybe they'll move it up to 4 to make sure they get it in, but they haven't announced that. So yeah, I don't know what they'll do.
I kind of thought that might be too. And maybe a TV game, maybe they're locked in to where they don't feel like it. And to be honest with you, maybe Mississippi State thinks 2 7-inning games favor them. They're the home team, so they ultimately get to make that decision. The league doesn't until you involve the league. So I don't know. It's one of those that I'm sure they've got a reason if they don't move it up.
So let's talk about the HBP on Cassis. And Monty said something, which is rare for Monty to go to Twitter and complain about something. If he's got something to say and he says it on Twitter, boy, he's hot. I personally thought it was ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The ball was up and in. It wasn't. First of all, the rule's terrible. If you can explain the rule, that would be great. If it wasn't going to be a strike anyways, how can you come back and call it a strike? I don't understand that. But at the same time, you're sending this to the league office, Coach. These guys are calling this based on a TV view, not the 4 dudes that are on the field. They're calling this at Birmingham, and they somehow determined that in his brain, while a 95-mile-an-hour fastball is headed towards his skull, he decided he'd just toss his elbow in front of it because he had plenty of time to think about, well, this will be the best strategy for me right here. How much of that did you see? Can you explain the rule and kind of walk us through your thoughts on it?
I didn't see it live. I was still at the game. I actually had Bobby Harden texting me trying to get a rule interpretation, and I'm at a high school baseball game, so I had no idea what he was talking about till I kind of looked. But I feel like with that rule, it started with good intent. Mm-hmm. It was like the 4 of us are sitting in a room. We come up with the idea. You remember a few years ago, and Campbell and a couple other schools were getting hit 100-plus times a game. They were throwing up once the Evo Shield guards were kind of new. So I thought it had a lot of good common sense, but it was almost like the meeting just never ended. So let's come up with this rule where, guys, we got too many intentional hit by pitches. The heck with it. Let's just go on home and call it a strike. It makes no sense that a pitch that hits you clearly out of the zone can then be called a strike. Now, if you lean over the plate like we've all seen, a knee up or an elbow in, and it's in the strike zone, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay, you did it on purpose, and hey, it's a strike. It hits you 12 to 18 inches off the plate clearly, at least maybe that high or more out of the zone. And mind you, the guy standing behind the plate says hit by pitch. Right. So he didn't immediately wave his hands and say, hey, he tried to get hit or anything. So I agree with you. I'm not really sure the setup. I know each week in the SEC, they rotate crew chiefs to sit in Birmingham and watch the game. Maybe they've got a view that, and they do, that TV don't occasionally, but very rarely do you see that get changed. I mean, that's when you go back to that plate guy, and what's worrying me a little bit, if y'all notice too, they're not talking to the guys that made the call. So I know that one guy stood forever with his microphone last night, then didn't know how to turn it on at one point. But they're not even asking the plate guy, hey, Joe, why did you say hit by pitch? And let him say to them, I felt it was clearly a ball. It was inside. There's no way it was going to be a strike, and he was trying to protect himself. That's why I called it. And then you can say, well, we see it different. That's fine. But they're not talking to the guy physically who made the call from what we're seeing, because they're not even letting them go in the dugout anymore, over to the dugout like we used to do. So I was in disagreement with it. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Monty would get on Twitter. I know how this league is when you say boo about officiating, so I'm sure he heard about that. But, that'll be point 2 when you're ready for me to go there, because I got a solution for all the umpire issues.
What is it?
They need to have a press conference after the game like the coaches and players. I've always been shocked that in our era of accountability, we'll make a 17-year-old freshman sit in front of reporters and answer why they did that. And they're making thousands of dollars a game, guys. Yep. These guys are SEC umpires now. They're not working a day job and then hustling to the ballpark anymore. This has become their jobs. They're making thousands upon thousands each game and weekend. There needs to be accountability. At the end of the night, the crew chief should come out, just like Coach Kingston had to, and I'm not sure if Lamona's got to with an ejection, or a player, and just say, okay, we've got to ask, what in the world happened here, and why was this call, or why did you miss this call? I'm still shocked. I guess in the 70s and 80s, we had a lot more respect for people in authority, but I mean, this rule's not going to change. I mean, everybody in every part of society now has to answer, and we still protect these officials and keep their anonymity like they're FBI informants. Let them come out and talk.
Well, I agree. I think JC and Phil, I think we've talked about this before. I think I've asked that question. Why do these guys not have to answer to the media like everybody else? We're all just left speculating. Yeah. But the coaches, you mentioned the players, and they just run off into the sunset. They're going to be right back out there today calling games like nothing happened. It's not their fault. Like you said, the guys on the field, they didn't make that call. The league office did. So like, I don't even know why are they doing that? What's the point of going to Birmingham? They're in Starkville, Mississippi. Why are they going to Birmingham? If you're in Columbia or Lexington and you have to play league games and there's a challenge and it's a league game, it goes to Birmingham. Why? What am I missing there?
I think they did it, man, in my opinion, to take the argument out of it. You can't even argue now. When the video review began and say JC was the guy that had to go look at it and came out, you could actually ask him, dude, what'd you see to change that call? They gave you that ability. A few years ago, they wanted to eliminate that, so they went to Birmingham. If they walk out of there now and say safe or out, you really, unless they just have common sense, aren't allowed to even ask them what happened without the possibly being ejected. So the way we saw it as coaches is it was one more way to protect somebody and hold all the coaches accountable I mean, when's the last time we heard about an umpire getting fired, to be honest? But we hear about it with coaches all the time. And that was very frustrating rule for us as coaches. So we're not even going to get explained without the threat of an immediate ejection for asking. And that's why I think they did it, because you said it. They're looking at a lot of the same views we are. And last night, I think we'd all agreed if they'd have made us look at that one, hey, that's a hit by pitch. Or at least it's a ball. It's not strike three. So,
yep. I agree. And sorry, Phil. Were you about
No, I was just going to say, I think, and what amplified the egregious nature of the reversal was, you come up the Mississippi State batter, I think first up got hit by a pitch that was even less, errant throw than the one that we saw, Cassis dodge. And then he gets, first base, no question, no review, off you go.
No. And that's because it was a breaking ball. And they know that, you know? So, but you kind of rolled it. So Limo got tossed. And I don't know if you've talked to him or what. I don't blame him. I'm sure, Coach, you have so much history of being a head coach. I'm sure there was a pressure point in him somewhere that was like, now's the time. Maybe it'll get these guys going because we can get off the schneid. I'm sure the other side of it was, oh my God, I can't watch this crap anymore because these guys behind home plate are terrible. The third inning, they call it here. The fourth inning, they call it here. We saw it at the Citadel the other night. And, these umpires, I don't mean to get personal with them. I'm not trying to, but they really aren't good. I mean, I don't know what's happened, but I feel like it's just gotten worse. And zones move around from time to time. I have no problem saying this. I think Cole Messina was struck out before he hit the home run. An inning or two prior, though, Coach, Eli Jones had struck out a guy that they didn't call, and then they line a single into center field or wherever it was, and State scores a run and ties the game at 1. So I'm not going to say they're costing any teams runs because you still have to execute the next pitch. That's your job as a player. Can't let it affect you. But just watching Limo, when he got tossed, I thought, yeah, I can see that. And I'm kind of surprised Kingston isn't with him off having a beer somewhere. But just kind of your evaluation of what he did there, because JC said something earlier, and I don't think he said it wrong. Mississippi State kind of plays with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and maybe you could help us understand, even though they've been struggling, they're going to take on the personality of their staff, and that's very much Limo.
Yeah, I had said it to some people this week. And first of all, with Limo and Dan McDonald, two of my best friends, but their teams are very similar. They're just like them. They still have that Citadel mentality of you think you're better than me, so I'm going to show you. And their teams have it. And that's why their teams have had a lot of success. But I think this last night was really a case of they're in a corner. They know it. They know how many SEC games they've lost in a row. Believe me, Mississippi State fans are like South Carolina fans. There's some fans showing up there now just to yell at them, when that's their whole goal of coming to that game. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure that you start to feel. And I was watching the game when Cole hit his home run, and you see Limo bust his clipboard in the background, so you know it's coming. I'll be honest with you, I thought he would have got a little more heated. I thought he would have gone on the field and almost went a Earl Weaver-like argument to really get his team and try to really get the crowd. So I was kind of impressed by him keeping his cool as well as he did. But, on the umpires, and believe me, some of them are some of my best friends, they just don't do the plate a lot. I mean, those minor league guys, think about it now, they do the plate every other day.
Yeah.
So they're constantly sitting back there looking at balls and strikes. The guys that have got to this elite level of college baseball, they probably do one plate game a week.
Right.
And that plate game is Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. When they show up to do the midweek games now, they've got enough, whatever the term is, that they umpire third or they umpire first. They don't climb behind that plate like minor league umpires do. And these guys are now major league umpires, think they do one every 4 days. Every fourth day, you're doing the plate. And those guys do a lot of simulation stuff. They're going in to work on that part of their craft because that's really what gets you graded. So I don't know. I hope college baseball, with the way they're paid now and the way everybody's lives are dictated, I sure hope there's an evaluation system going on more than just looking at the TV game and maybe a track man occasionally, because I'm telling y'all, there's a lot of money being paid for these umpires. And I hope that the accountability increases, because I know it is on the coaches. And that's why I feel like a limo last night. Yeah, he probably just reached his point that, oh, man, what else can – where South Carolina seasons to this point's kind of been, holy cow, that just went our way. Limos, and I talked to him twice this week, it's been what else cannot go our way. So you start to, woe is me, and then you get that missed call right there on a really good hitter, and you're going, holy cow, what can go against us now? So just a big moment in the game for sure.
And we definitely need to make sure we actually talk about the baseball team themselves, because what's going on right now really is unbelievable. I do want to, for those that don't maybe know this connection, I want to make sure we point it out, because these are just amazing humans and they deserve this. Scott Foxhall, who's the pitching coach for Coach Lemonis at Mississippi State, from Greer, South Carolina, played at the College of Charleston and coached at the College of Charleston. He was the pitching coach when Monty was playing at the College of Charleston. I was lucky enough to be the bat boy on that team for 3 or 4 years. And that's how, my connection started with all those guys under Ralph Civiteri. But it is so unique to turn on TV and see Monty Lee and Scott Foxhall coaching in the SEC against each other. And I know you've known them forever, Coach Lake, but it's just a hat tip, I think, to the state of South Carolina and what it produces in baseball, but most importantly in human beings, because these are two of the best you could ever find.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. Scott and I are the same age, so we played together in summer leagues, because I was at Charleston Southern, him at the college, and then we coached together with John Pulowski. So I was with him 1 year when I was at the College of Charleston before moving on to Ole Miss, and there's not a better human being. I mean, it's really not. And as I was watching the game last night, as our kids, Hayden's sitting there beside my son, and it's late in that game, and he just said, man, Coach Foxhall looks tired. Mm-hmm. And he did. And I've been there. I was on Chad's staff in 2017. I've been a part of some staffs here in the last few years where it really does take a toll on you. And it is hard as a friend to watch guys go through it, because you know how hard they're working. And as Scott told me on the phone this week, we think we're going to get 2 of our guys back in the next few weeks, but we're not going to have them this weekend. So they lost their closer and their number one, at the beginning of the year. He said, but we got to find a way to keep our head above water. We can't go 0-9. We can't go 0-12 and think that we're just going to then cruise back into the SEC tournament or make a regional. And with the pressure and the money now in college baseball, we're talking about a team that won national championship. Not just the other year, 2 years ago, is under that tight pressure. So I know how I feel.
Who's Ole Miss have this weekend? Who are they playing?
They're at A&M.
I can't believe that they are combined 0-13 in the league. Wow. Okay. So Carolina's 7-0 though.
Yeah.
It's never happened. The 2000 team didn't do it. None of the World Series teams. It's amazing. They're 7-0. They're finding ways to win, Coach. I think some people are still, oh well, yeah, but you got LSU coming up next weekend. We'll find out what they're all about. Yeah, well, but they're 7-0, and you lose games in this league. This game, it's so hard. And now you have an opportunity to go maybe sweep another series. You're a baseball guy. What's going on here?
Well, I can tell you, going in, and I learned this from Coach Tanner, and I worked. I went on to Ole Miss and did it. Your goal is to win 15 games in the SEC. If you win 15 games, you're getting in a regional. Y'all know the only team that won 15 games and didn't get in a regional. It was our 99 East champions, and they took 16 from the West. But since then, it's never happened again. Also, if you can win 14 games and have a good RPI, and I would say right now, number 3 in the country is pretty good, you're probably going to get in too. So you start to do math as a baseball guy and go, all right, so if I can get to 15, I'm pretty much a lock, and I'm at 7. So now I got 8 games with – you start doing numbers. So yeah, next weekend with LSU and Florida, all those are huge games, and you're trying to win the SEC East or overall. But in SEC baseball, you're just trying to get in a regional because that is what gets you to Omaha. You don't get to Omaha with an SEC ring. I know that for a fact. I got them. Don't say Omaha on the other side. You get to Omaha by winning regionals and super regionals. So this team is setting themselves up incredibly well to be a postseason team. And that's the ultimate goal because, to be honest, we all feel great on March 31st about how we're playing, but it's really going to matter how did we do in June. Well, if you're not in the regional in June, we're talking about football. So your goal is to get in the regional and never lose focus. Coach Tanner was awesome. We never talked about Omaha. When he says that, he's not lying. If it was brought up, he would get mad at whoever brought it up because our goal was postseason, get in the postseason. We all knew that meant Omaha, but our goal was always win 15 games, get in the postseason, win 15 games, and win in postseason. And that's where I would be right now with this team. They got a lot of great things going for it, and it seems like they're figuring out, like last night, ways to win when you don't have your best night. Every time you win, y'all remember the old movie Major League? You're taking one of those little, things off the owner. Hey, this is don't ever get wrapped up in your RPI, your rank. You get wrapped up in getting in the postseason. That's what this team. That's all I would be thinking about with this team because you might have one of the most special seasons ever. But at the same time, I was on that 2002 team. If it don't end in Omaha, the story don't end well. So you want to just keep building and building and building as we make our way through the next, 2 games a night and next 7 opponents and then the SEC tournament. And then that's when it's cool. When you hit Memorial Day and they say your name, especially when you're hosting and they say your name.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head 2 weeks ago. Last year, Kyle Peterson said Tennessee might be the best team he'd ever seen. They didn't get to Omaha, and Ole Miss was the last team in, and they won the World Series.
Yeah.
You can't explain it in this sport. My final quick question to you, obviously Sanders more than likely getting the weekend off. I guess there's a slight possibility we could see him, but it doesn't seem likely at this point. Do you any evaluations on what you've seen out of him and what this week might do for him moving forward?
I was like y'all. I was surprised when I saw he was out of the rotation. I thought the rotation may move in a sense of who's going where. And it makes sense that it didn't really, too, because it was a Thursday and not a typical Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Will is just we're very close. And he's a guy that I was part of recruiting, got to coach with. And as I texted him yesterday, it was his birthday yesterday. So I texted him yesterday. And to be honest, what I texted was happy birthday. And remember this from an old guy, God's got bigger plans than we can ever imagine for ourselves. So he texted me back immediately, said, thank you. Coach, all I want to do is get 3 wins here this weekend, and I believe him. So I have no doubt, he'll be – if they use him in relief, he'll be ready. If they don't, he'll be recharged and be ready to really be a part of this staff, I feel, as they move forward as well. He's a unique, special kid with a lot of talent.
Well, and probably a future first-round draft pick as well, and certainly look forward to that. But hopefully they get win number 8 tonight. It would also be win number 26 on the season if they can pull it off at the Dude in Starkville, where Friday night is happy hour in the state of Mississippi, and we know about 10, 12,000 of them show up to watch baseball. So looking forward to that. Kind of like last night at LSU, 13,000 people in that ballpark on a Thursday night. 13,000.
That was a good game. I don't know if y'all flipped over to it, but
I did.
It's a pretty cool game to watch, and amazing. That's the biggest crowd ever there.
Crazy.
In all the history of that program.
Yeah, and that dude for LSU throws 100, and we're going to see him next Friday night or next Thursday night in Founders Park. Yeah. Coach, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we look forward to getting with you next week in the middle of the LSU series, as a matter of fact.
Well, I look forward to it. I get to do it on TV next weekend, so that's exciting to get to see them kind of live in person. Be cool talking to y'all on Friday about what we just saw.
No, I can't wait. I'm coming up Friday, so I'll come up and see you.
Awesome. Should be a huge crowd at Founders next week too.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know, Jason. I don't know if we have any tickets left because y'all know I work in the Gamecock Club and the ticket office is beside us. So everybody thinks we just have free tickets, laying around in here. But we don't. And it is down, I think, to standing room only. And that was as of yesterday. Yeah. So I think it's going to be an incredible environment, at Founders next Thursday and Friday. So 2 night games before the noon game on Saturday.
Sweet.
We'll just come on down and put a seat behind you in the box there, Stu.
Come on.
Yeah, that's right. I'll come in the back gate. They'll never know I was there. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
There you go, Stuart Lake. All right, 11:44. Timeout. Sawyer Nix up next.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for a karaoke partner, I can tell you, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But what I do have is a very specific set of skills. Hang up now, and your IT nightmares will continue. But stay on the line, and I will find you. And when I find you, I will fix it. Thanks. I think I have the wrong number. I'm trying to call Matt at Heritage Digital. He has a one-price, low-cost turnkey solution for all my IT needs, and I'm sick and tired of my IT guy. So, yeah, 843-699-1001. This is 1002. Oh, well, thanks anyway. Don't be taken by some IT dude that talks a big game. Give Matt at Heritage Digital a call, 843-699-1001.
Gamecock Nation, JB here, and I'm here to tell you about my new favorite painting company, A Couple of Painters. These guys are the best. Gamecock fans and excellent painters, and by far the best and easiest quote I've received. They're licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia. They offer 10% off for military, repeat customers, or if you heard it on the show, commercial and residential painting, deck, fence, and cabin staining, cabinet and furniture refinishing. They'll even remove popcorn ceilings and wallpaper, and they offer pressure washing. Find them on Facebook or call 803-522-6832. A Couple of Painters, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
You're tuned into Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Sideline it picked off. Brad Edwards will get a convoy. Touchdown, South Carolina. Chickens, racial spurs. You ain't just a bird. You're top of the coop, star of the show. You're a rooster who was born a pro. Well, I bet you wonder when you win or lost a step or two.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Give John Barber and his team a call, 803-446-4662, is how to get in touch with John. Talk about how they can turn your backyard into an outdoor retreat for the summer. And, of course, the first hour of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Cindy will be happy to take your call at 864-414-5271 to talk about all your upstate residential real estate needs. And we're joined now by Sawyer Nix for another edition of The Mental Edge. He's coming to us live on the McKellar Enterprises guest line that we have been burning up as of late, which is one of the reasons why we apologize for having to bump Sawyer for 2 weeks in a row. We're happy to have you in here today, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Like I said, I'm a utilitarian player, right? I'm a role player. I can float and plug some holes, and that's nothing wrong with that. So.
Right on.
Yeah, got you DH in one day and playing in the right field, shortstop the next, all that good stuff. All right, so when you're undefeated in conference play and you're winning like the baseball team is, how hard? What would be your advice for the players and everybody involved, really to stay locked in and kind of capture this and let all this success, because inevitably you're going to lose, but to let the success kind of sustain you when times do get maybe a little hairy, to kind of reach back and say, well, hey, this is what your mindset was here. Here's how you recapture that, or here's how you continue that, as you move forward.
Well, I think JB mentioned, the baseball gods have been on the side of the Gamecocks. Certainly, I watched the game last night, and then the past few. The Gamecocks have not been having a whole lot of mercy rules lately. It's been, we had some of those versus Georgia and earlier in the year, but versus Missouri, and that was not the case. There were some neck and neck games. I mean, it came down to the ninth inning and then extra innings. So this idea of, you're just skating along, everything's swimmingly. No, you had to come back in the ninth to win one game. And then you had to go into extras to win another. So this idea that they're just on fire, maybe record wise, yes, but performance wise, they're doing what they need to do to win, which is the ultimate bottom line. But I think one of the things is, all right, we still have ways to improve, ways to be more consistent. And that's the name of the game. I mean, it's being consistent with whether it's their approach to batting, approach to hitting, field, defensive play, pitching, just being the most consistent they can be. And when they do that, over the long haul, you're going to win a lot of games. You're going to drop some games, as you mentioned. You're not going to win every game. There's going to be some games where you make a few more mistakes, or the bats are cold, or the pitching, you don't get some calls. You get an umpire that's, not necessarily in your corner. And those things are going to happen. So I think it's preparing for those. So I think part of it's knowing that those things are going to happen, that something's going to happen, but focusing on just being consistent in the smaller details day to day and game to game. And then you hope that you're there in Omaha to compete when it ends.
I think one of the things that is that in sport is, there's two ways to explain this, but they all wrap into one product. I grew up playing baseball, so I always reference this much more. But how teams take on the personality of their coach, their head coach, their staff, but they also have their own personality individually. The players do. I mean, you're not trying to change a kid to make him become something that he's not. He has to be who he is. But like last night, watching that ball game, I mentioned to Coach Lake, limo gets tossed. That team, regardless of what the record is, they're going to be just like Coach Lamonis. Coach Lamonis is very fiery.
He was.
And so you whether to win and lose and whatever, that's just him, and he's offset by Coach Foxhall, who's like, yeah, steady Eddie. But I've just always found it interesting how you get a team collectively to take on that personality, but yet they all have individual personalities. And then at the end of the day, it either works or it doesn't work. And then you got to go back and figure out why.
Yeah. Well, I guess in football, it's the big culture word, right? And I think that's that the team and the staff have taken on, and even the players have taken on the culture of Coach Beamer and what he's done. And I wholeheartedly agree with kind of what you're saying, that's why coaches are in the position that they're in. Sure, it's X's and O's and recruiting, but they're the leader of the team. They can't hit and bat and throw, but they are the leader of the team. So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
All right, so does Carolina win by 40 points tonight against Iowa?
Oof.
No,
I don't think
so. Win by 40.
No. So my prediction is that Caitlin Clark is going to get she's going to get her opportunities, but I believe the defense is too good. They're going to take care of the rest of the team. So good players, if she really is as good as they say she is, which, she's good, but how good, we're not sure. But if she's as good as most people think she is, she's going to get some points. She's going to get her shots. She's going to get her opportunities. But I feel like team versus team, as a team, Carolina is going to beat Iowa as a team. And that's without a doubt, and that's what I'm hanging my hat on. Is that, what about the other four players on the court for Iowa? That I'm not sure that they can compete with the Gamecocks. They can't, in my opinion. So it's going to be that's the overall theme is the Gamecocks can't shoot themselves in the foot, as Keith Alsop has said. They can't. The only reason they lose is the Gamecocks messed it up, and so that's. I don't know what the points are going to be, but I have them win the whole shooting match, winning tonight, then winning on was it Monday?
Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think JC, was it you at the top of the show that thought that this wouldn't be particularly close tonight?
I think Carolina, for the reason Sawyer stated, they're going to wear them. I mean, you look at Maryland, who played pretty well. They were dragging second half. Too much depth. I feel.
Like I think a storyline in this game, guys, is like kind of lumping your expertise in, Sawyer, is for 2 years. We talked about this other day, Phil and JC. This has been a matchup that people in basketball and those particularly interested in women's basketball have wanted to see, because you felt like 1 and 2 national players of the year, 2 different players, but Clark and Boston, everybody, as the media does, you see this all the time. Like in the Super Bowl, it's Brady versus Manning. Well, there's 100 other players that are going to play in the game. That, right?
Right.
No, it's Brady versus Manning. Like, I just wonder, Aaliyah Boss has been there, done that. She's been around the block. She's won all the awards. She's won the national championship. She's won all this stuff. But Caitlin Clark hasn't. So I just wonder mentally how she has, absorbed this week leading into this matchup with all the hoopla surrounding the game, but surrounding like her and her individual awards versus Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, I haven't followed her too much, so I can't speak to her individual mindset and her approach, but I would suspect that she's looking forward to it. This is her opportunity to show who she is, and certainly Suckerline's the crowned defensive team of the world. I think whoever said that at ESPN, right, is the best defensive team ever. And certainly the stats do bear that out to some degree. And so is a good player. Good players or great players look for that opportunity. They want the challenge. Great players want that. Yes, I want my shot against the best of the best. And so that would be her mindset is I want the best of the best. And well, that's what you're going to get tonight, sweetheart. You're going to get the best of the best, and you're going to have your opportunity to show out, or it's going to go the other way, and we'll find out.
I think it's going to be a great atmosphere tonight. Iowa has a large fan base that travels, and you wouldn't think of Iowa being close to Dallas, but it's really, you just go straight down, I think, I-35, straight through the middle of the country to get there. And LSU, I think, is going to travel pretty well. The Gamecocks bring a lot of good fans, and the Hokies travel. I mean, in other sports at least. I mean, Virginia Tech shows up. And I read the other day, the women's Final Four tickets are more expensive than the men's. But in fairness, you're talking about a 20,000 seat arena in Dallas, home where the Mavericks play, hosting the women's, as opposed to Reliant. I think is it still called Reliant Stadium down in Texas, where the Texans play in Houston, 60,000 people. Yeah. So it's kind of I don't know if it's misleading or not, but it's the first time in history. So I think that atmosphere is going to be huge, Sawyer. And, it's probably going to be unlike your kind of run-of-the-mill games that Iowa women's basketball has played through the years. Because, the Gamecocks obviously have the best home court atmosphere in the game right now. So I think that the moment and then on top of everything else with, the Gamecocks obviously are the defending national champions, that they can meet the moment probably better, mentally than the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I agree. They've had more opportunities. Certainly, I would say the SEC certainly has its followers. And I don't know as much about, the teams that Iowa's played this year. So, but certainly Suckerline's, they've had more exposure, I guess is probably the right word, in terms of pressure games, in terms of being in the Final Four, in terms of big crowds and things like that. I think Mississippi earlier this year was a good kind of showing for Mississippi in hanging with the Gamecocks, and that was a pretty raucous crowd for women's basketball when the Gamecocks were on the road. And so I think the Gamecocks are going to be prepared, no doubt.
I think.
All right.
According to what is this?
All right.
Vivid or not Vivid? What is this ticket? Vivid Seats. The cheapest ticket available for the game for the Carolina game. Oh no, for the Final Four. So when you buy a ticket, it gets you into both games tonight, right? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the cheapest ticket is $212. The most expensive ticket is $3,020.
Jeez.
I mean, and that's a resale ticket. You know, so that's probably some Joe Schmo trying to make some money.
Right. Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of purple and gold. A lot. And, you know, and look, the Big Ten, one thing people don't realize about Big Ten fan bases in all sports, they travel. All those schools, with the exception of Northwestern, are huge land grant institutions with 50, 60,000 students and alums everywhere. We saw that when Carolina played Iowa in the Outback Bowl back in 2008. I was there. Iowa had as many fans as the Gamecocks. So, I think they'll travel. I think LSU being there just because of their proximity to Dallas. I mean, from northern Louisiana, you can get to Dallas in an hour and a half. So I think there's gonna be a lot of purple and gold, a lot of black and gold, and a lot of maroon and orange and garnet and black as well. But it's that's interesting that these four fan bases who in other sports are really, really good, and Carolina's of course second to none in women's basketball. But that's interesting. Those tickets are becoming such a hot commodity.
Well, and it is sold out. The only thing that's available are resale tickets.
Yeah.
So hats off to women's basketball for what they're achieving. And seeing Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey and this is the stars are out this weekend in Dallas for women's basketball. It's great stuff. All right, Sawyer, man, we really appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful weekend pulling the Gamecocks through.
Will do. I'll be watching basketball tonight and hopefully Sunday, and also encourage everyone to buy their Carolina Rise tickets for the event. I bought mine for Thursday in Columbia. I will be there, and also I need to get with each of you to figure things out, but I will be purchasing a ticket to give away for a giveaway. So
nice.
We'll kind of figure that out, how to work that out. But to our listeners and followers, keep watching the show, and you'll have the opportunity to win a ticket to the event.
That's awesome,
Nice.
man. Thank you for doing that. That's great.
Hey, man.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, brother. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Thanks,
See y'all.
All right, Phil. Take us home, country roads, where hour 1 is in the book. Hour book, gold jacket, green jacket, books. We do have a second hour of this program that runs us until 1 o'clock, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And JC is going to spoil the commitment of Blake Frank. That's exactly where he's going. No, I'm just kidding. But there is plenty to get to in the recruiting side, so I'm going to go grab a drink, let JC talk during that. And I have some food stuff for you. I have some food stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
dude.
food.
You're not
It
going
is
to believe.
lunchtime.
You're not going to believe it. Yeah, I don't know. This would be like a once in a lifetime meal, but if you ate it on like Monday, you're not going to eat the rest of the week. It's big league ballpark foods. You'll like it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. We are painted garnet and black by a couple of painters. Let me paint something.com. Tristan and those guys at a couple of painters all over the state of South Carolina, all over the state of Georgia, licensed and insured, and the best, and they're priced the best. And if you use them to paint, tell somebody about it, because most painters that I find these days, let's put it lightly, are just not that good. But these guys are the best. That's why they're on here with us. A couple of painters, let me paint something.com. Hang tight. Hour 2 coming up.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer, It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. The home of Ovington, Velotric, Magnum Bikes, and more, they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. Their electric bikes are equipped with 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle, so you can ride longer, handle the heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available for all ages and sizes. Visit electricbikescharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant if you're in the Low Country. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Zachary Davis from Carolina Hoops, and you're watching the show with JB, JC, and Phil. Go Cox.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. 803-446-4662 is how to get in touch with them. Talk about how they could potentially enclose a porch or a patio for you. Decided to go with a project for them. John Barber's been kind enough to offer $500 off your project cost if you mention that you heard it here. And my last family birthday shout out until October.
Oh,
happy birthday to my youngest daughter, Allie. Who shouldn't be listening, but she does know how to work that computer very well and knows how to find Daddy on YouTube. So she's listening. Happy birthday, Allie.
JC, I have already put this in my phone for next year and every year after. March 27th through the 31st is Phil's family birthday week. So we need to make sure that we get in touch with like a jump castle company or like maybe
we need to get this thing sponsored, right?
Yeah, maybe like an actual clown or like a something like that.
Oh, here, no, Austin's got it. Yeah, right here. Phil's bank account struggling this month. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, guys, I got to jump off. I got a telehealth appointment. I said it yesterday. I forgot. I just remembered. Crap. So I'm gonna jump off, but I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Man, this is a killer show for anybody that's wanting to tell their friends and family. You never know when we might just disappear for 20 minutes to have the doctor tell us when we're going to be dead. So best of luck to JC. And for those of you only tuning in for his thoughts on Blank Franks, have no fear. We're pretty sure he's going to come back.
That's right. This is how we increase time spent listening, y'all. This is a ploy.
Oh, yeah.
Have to hang around. That's right.
This is we screwed up because what we should have done was throw it to break and go as we go to break. JC Sherbert will have his telehealth appointment. When we return, we'll give you the results. Is JC near death or not? Right here on Inside the Gamecocks. The show.
Over under, he's got 40 years left. What you got? Place your bets now.
Just on the other side of the break, tune in to see if JC lived through the telehealth report. Oh gosh, man. They're really gonna be the doctor's really gonna be wondering what the hell's going on when Schubert jumps in and he's like,
that's what I was going to say.
Wait a second.
If you get bad news, I'm like, no, Doc, my name's Schubert. You've got the wrong guy.
I don't have you down today. I'm on there, I swear.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to get charged another copay.
Oh god,
alias.
So funny.
Yeah, that's great.
I will point this out, and I meant to point this out with Coach Lake earlier as him and I were sitting here texting about something else. But to his point, they found a way to win last night with all those runners left on base and the 17 strikeouts. In the middle of all those numbers was the fact that your top two hitters, Wimmer and Cassis, 1 and 2 in the lineup, were 0 for 11 with 6 strikeouts and 9 LOBs. So of the 14 left on base, your top two hitters in the lineup left 9 of them out there. Of your 17 strikeouts, they did it 6 times. So that's a third of those. And they also didn't have a hit in the game.
Right. And
they still won. So if they would have gone like 1 for 11, game would have been like 38-3, you know? Like,
yeah, we wouldn't have been up so late watching that game. We could have turned it off.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I tell you what, well, that's what made the hit by pitch debacle so bad too, because there you are, you're loading the bases at that point. You know, and it's just like, oh yeah, let's roll. Let's just blow this thing wide open. And then no, momentum killer right out the gate.
Well,
and I wanted to see King come out of there. I wanted to see dirt kicked. You know, but there again, it's like you pointed out, you're not talking to the guy that made the call.
No.
You know, I mean, you can't be that upset. What are you gonna do? You gotta, you know, dump the refuse over Birmingham when you're flying home. You just gotta empty out the bathroom tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, look, man, I mean, I mentioned this to King not long ago, a few days ago, maybe. I was like, hey, I can't remember what game it was. We talked to Derek, so maybe it was after the Georgia series. Might have been after the Georgia series. And I had mentioned, remember this conversation I mentioned to Derek that it just bugged me that you walk out of the dugout to ask the umpire a question or like there's a difference.
Yeah.
In arguing, okay? We've all been around the block. We know what this looks like, all right? You get guys who go all 8 blank, and they deserve to get run. Half the time they're doing it to get run, all right? But then you have guys who come out to talk to you to not show you up. Well, I'm sorry, and this is where I have issue. Not all umpires. This is not a one-size-fits-all conversation, okay? But, like, where I'm having issues with umpires is now the shoe is on the other foot. And it's a lack of respect / showing up coaches. Because you come out and the umpire stops you and says, get off the dirt. You can't be on this other side of the chalk. Okay, man. Okay, I don't care what the rule is. I didn't run out here like a bat out of hell. I'm coming out to talk to you. I want to get a ruling. I need to understand what just happened here. I'm not arguing balls and strikes. Some of them sometimes are, believe it or not. They use something else to go out and say, just want to let you know that was a terrible call, but the only reason I'm out here is because you suck. You know, and that does happen. Those guys get run, but nobody knows what they said, right? So there was a lack of – so there was some respect in that. Yeah, your coach walks out and he tells you, you suck. But he didn't yell it from the dugout. But now what you're having is umpires who are doing this, and they're showing you up in front of thousands of people. Don't walk out here. You can't come out here. No, you can't do that. And I think the most disrespectful thing, Phil, is what you said a minute ago. Everybody is in the ballpark. The umpires are in the ballpark. The coaches are in the ballpark. The players are in the ballpark. The call is made. This is going to be shocking. In the ballpark. And the big leagues do the same thing. They go down, they send it to New York, they get a call because they have all these angles. I understand it. I get the angles, I get the TV. But at what point in time do we also allow the umpires who made the call to actually, make the call? Like,
why not defer to them?
Right.
In that. And the other thing, JB, is, I mean, look, how many baseball games did we watch with a single camera perspective last year? Hey, happy to have them on TV and all that. But, there aren't, 15 cameras at a college baseball game. I don't care what stadium you're in or how big it is. It's not like MLB. It's not like the NFL where you got 100 cameras on the whole play and you get every possible angle. So what are you seeing in Birmingham that would trump what the call was made on the field. It just it's baffling. It's baffling.
I think that and again, I would defer. We had Coach Lake on earlier, and I obviously clearly am going to defer to these guys, but I think, Phil, personally, that it would be much better for the game if you want to review it, allow the umpires on the field to review it. Okay? If they feel like we need to get an extra look at this, we're not seeing it here, send it to Birmingham and allow them to chime in with anything additional that they could see. I have no idea why Birmingham should have more views than what you can provide these umpires. I don't think they should. But if that is the case for whatever reason that it is, or there's an additional umpire in Birmingham who needs to have a hand in making this call and you feel like it needs to get sent off, then do it. Now, what that leaves in play and what that leaves in place is something that I'm very fond. If any of you, 76, Bobby, Latte Lance, Craig, all you got, anybody, the thousands of people that watch and listen to this show every day, if any of you are baseball people and you think that the game is better without umpires and coaches being able to go toe-to-toe on a call, I would strongly disagree with you. That's what has built this game. Now, I'm not saying that we should just have it like we have all this technology. Don't worry about it. Just let calls get bad, or let's not be able to change a call or fix a call. The important thing is to get it right, right? Get it right. Get it right. Get it right. I understand that. But they got that call wrong last night. Right. And that's the problem here. So, like, why not allow the head coach to be able to come out and say, you're wrong. I can't talk to the guy in Birmingham. I can't call him in the middle of the game.
Right. So, yeah, what are you going to do? Pick up the phone? Yeah, listen, you dumbass. You know.
Exactly. Like, you made the call. They're asking. I don't blame Lemo for asking. He had his catcher tell him something. I don't blame him for that. You know, hey, we need another look at this. Problem is they got the call wrong. They didn't get the ruling right. So, like, there should be the ability for the coach to walk out and say, I need to talk to you. All right? I don't need to talk to Birmingham. All right? You made the call. These guys out here made the call. And removing that from the game is horse crap. I don't agree with that.
No, it just puts another layer of, in between the poor showing on the field in certain instances, even though this is the reverse of that, and that they got the call right initially and then changed it to the wrong decision.
Yeah. Well,
there's no recourse, none, there will be no consequences. There is no, nothing is going to happen to whoever it is, some unnamed person. Like, do we know who in Birmingham made that call? No. And you never will. Yeah.
Because we know the umpires' names on the field. They put them on the TV screen. They're supplied in every box score. We know who they are. All right. So, but then the guy in Birmingham is making the call. And Coach Lake, I agree. I've said the same thing before, not to sound smart. I don't even think it's very smart. Like, I think it's kind of common sense in the world that we're living in. Like, why can we put a 17 or 18-year-old kid up on a table and tell him to explain himself, but we can't put a grown man up there and say, hey, look, what happened here? It doesn't have to be where umpires or officials are scheduled for a press conference every game, but if they are requested, somebody should be available. In baseball, it should be the crew chief. In football, it should be the lead official. In basketball, the same thing. You might not be requested. You might not have any media obligations after the game. But if you are, somebody's got to be able to answer the bell as to what the call was and why the call was made. And if we're not going to get that, I'll add this. I know Coach Lake didn't say it, but I'll add this. Unless you got like a Mark Kingston, or I'll just use him or Limo because this is what we're talking about. Let's say Kingston went up and sat at the podium tonight after the game, and they said, well, Coach, what happened on that call in the third inning? And he said, well, that guy, he is a big pile of horse blank. Fine him. Fine. I get it. Issue the fine, reprimand him, do whatever you want to do. But not allowing these guys to speak on officiating and umpiring is a joke. Like, if you're not going to let them come up and speak on their own behalf, why are you going to muzzle the coaches on it? maybe you say the players can't speak on it, but the coaches, if they're asked a question, they can answer it. Now, if they cross the line, they get personal, they say something that's incorrect, fine. You want to have a talk with them, whatever you want to do. But, how many times have y'all heard, and now that JC's back from his proctologist, like how many times have you heard any coach out there in baseball, football, basketball sit on the podium fuming, burning up inside, and saying, I would really love to answer that question, but I can't because I'm going to get slapped with a $25,000 fine for speaking on officiating? That's horse crap. Yep. Like,
yes,
why?
It is.
Okay, well, if they can't speak on it, then somebody needs to speak on it. And by the way, I'm just using the SEC here, but not by virtue of your Twitter account 72 hours after the call was made. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts. That's why it was interesting to see Money, tweet what he did last night. I'm like, wow. That was too. Somebody's going to get a talking to.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know what? He was right. It's just the rule is stupid the way it stands. That I don't care how inconsistent that guy's strike zone was last night, and for heaven's sake, it sure was. But there was no way, even in his crazy strike zone, that pitch would have been called a strike if it hadn't hit.
The rules. I agree with Coach Lake. I'm glad he said what he said because I did not say what I said had no context behind it, and it was poorly worded. The rule was put in place from a good spot initially. They were trying, and I remember that this was happening all the time. You were having guys lean in front of pitches, and we were getting lost in the game, and they had to find a way to fix it. So we have to go back in time and remember when the rule was implemented and why that was the case. But, there also needs to be some type of common sense with this. Like, if you lean into it and it's a strike, it's a strike. If that happens to be strike three, so be it. If you lean into it and it's a ball, well, then that's a ball. If you lean into it, but you actually didn't lean into it, like what happened last night, then it's called a freaking hit by pitch, and you send his ass down to first base. So, I mean, I just don't really think this is that complicated. I just cannot believe that these things happen. Now, is this the biggest story of the day? And I'm getting all hot and heavy about it right now? It's not. I shouldn't be. But yeah, it was not good. And in the zone, when Limo got tossed, I was laughing because I know him, and I thought, well, good for him. Had they been winning a bunch of games, he would have stayed in the game. All right. Yeah. There was a pressure point that they hit it, and he had enough, and Messina was struck out. That should have been a strike. But it wasn't, and he had a home run, and it just happened to Carolina the inning before. So, anyway.
That pitch was low in the zone, wasn't it? Because that was where it seemed like he was missing a lot.
Yeah, there
was one that struck out Messina, I think, was like
he wasn't calling any of those down there.
Yeah, but he wasn't getting any of that. None of that. Like if it was below your thigh, it wasn't getting called.
Yeah, that's a strike by the letter of the law. That's a strike. And Eli Jones threw a bunch of them too. Hicks threw one. I remember 4 between all of these guys during the game. I'm sure there's a couple more, but like they just weren't getting the low strike. Well, and zones are going to be different, and that's what I love about baseball. Like I don't want them to go to the robot, but like a high strike zone, that's going to affect a guy like James Hicks a lot. He's got to live at the bottom of the zone. That's just who he is. A guy like Noah Hall, like he can't just miss upstairs the whole time. Those balls are going to get hit out of the yard. So you got to get a low strike, and they weren't given that last night. But Carolina won. So, anyways,
that's right.
JC, we'll go ahead and step aside when we return. If you would do so kindly, make sure that you let us know how long you're going to continue to be on Earth with us. We'd appreciate that. But before you tell us whether you're going to be dead in a week or not, we really need to know if Blake Franks is going to commit to South Carolina. That's what's important on this Friday afternoon. So
sure.
We'll step aside quickly, and when we return, JC's health update and Blake Franks right here on Inside the Gamecocks.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass, Sear Fossil, Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the Village at Creekside. all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Coach O here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight off the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning, it'll melt in your mouth, it's good on a cracker, it's good in a bowl, it's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly. You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
This is freshman All-American Nicky Memorial of the Carolina Gamecocks, and you're listening to The Show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express Sunrooms, broadcasting live from the Signorama Studios. And we all eagerly await JC's mortality update.
Okay, so, stuff these days is a little bit complicated, like simple stuff, and I don't know whether it's pandemic related. I mean, people want to blame the pandemic, but it seems like, things are just so hard, like getting appointments to the doctor, right? So I do a telehealth because I have a prescription that has to be refilled every month, and I have to at least check in to get it filled. So I'm this month I felt like I was doing the responsible thing and heading it off, and I called. They're like, "Well, we can get you in April 10th." And keep in mind, I've never had to wait more than 2 days, and that's a delay, and I got to have this medication. So they squeezed me in. The only time they could was at 11:10 my time today. And I almost forgot about it, even though I mentioned it and set an alarm and everything. So it got to be 11:06. I was like, oh, crap. And so I got it out there. So by the way, Thomas, I think Thomas is who said it in the chat box. I know I need to quit typing during the show, and I'm working on that. But as far as breathing into the mic, my microphone sits a good 1.5 feet away from me. So I don't know that that's me. I don't know that it's Jamie or Phil, but maybe it's just it's such a strong mic. It's picking me up breathing. I don't know, but I will work hard on my mic discipline. I know it sucks. And so your criticism is duly noted. Okay. And I understand that.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah, I appreciate the constructive criticism. Look, guys, I got a website to run and all kinds of other stuff. Sometimes I just get distracted because I've got all these windows up and I'm like, I need to respond to this.
Phil, check your schedule. We have
for future reference,
8:30 on Monday morning, guys. Mic etiquette training with JC.
Mic etiquette.
Put that in the schedule right in front of anything else that could possibly come up.
Yeah, and as far as the breathing goes, it's probably because it's like right here, and I don't know. I'm just sitting here breathing normally.
I'm just happy you're breathing after that.
After right. I mean, I was getting worried. I mean, like, breathe all you want.
Were you bent over in front of a camera or something? Like, what was going on?
Prostate exam? Like, it's not that kind of checkup.
Oh,
that'd be funny if virtual. I did see something.
Okay, insert there.
A virtual colonoscopy, and I'm like, wow, how does that work? What kind of apparatus do you have to plug into your computer to
place your phone on the floor and
literally
squat.
plug in? What are you plugging in your computer?
It's like this tube, and it's like, oh,
how would you like to be the Russian that hacked? Oh, we're gonna steal all this guy's information.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my god, is that an ass?
And Lance Latte says beer fixes heavy breathing. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, soon enough today.
I could take care of these Russian hackers. Hack into my camera, pal.
It's like that movie, the Disney movie, The Black Hole.
Oh god!
I can superimpose robots and stuff up there. You know, you get the colonoscopy shot, but there's Maximilian. You know, the evil robot from that movie. That movie's terrible, by the way. It's not as bad as The Slugger's Wife, which got a lot of mention and run on our show yesterday. So anyway,
speaking of, I'll hold my crazy ballpark food until a little bit, but I don't want to miss this because I know that people want to know the answer. This is important stuff. You got Blake Franks is backed up to 6:30, right? On his announcement. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, changed it today, I think.
1 to 10 scale. How do you feel about it for South Carolina?
9.5.
What can you? I know you've written a lot about it, JC. Can you? It's not official. Let's work under the assumption right now that this is obviously, as you mentioned, going to be the case in about 6 hours. Walk us back to when he first came on the radar and take us through this, because the first time I ever heard about him, matter of fact, I think it was through you. You and I were talking on the phone, and you said, yeah, he's a big Clemson guy, really heavy lean, going to be difficult for Carolina to pull off. But my God, pulling this thing off here. How big of a deal is this? What walk us through it, and how big of a deal is it to be able to do so?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a solid 3-star guy. Probably, you know, with a big senior year, could move into that 4-star range. But you know, you always heard about Josiah Thompson and Cam Pringle when you're talking about recruits for 2024. Those guys have been on the radar for a while, and of course have offers from everybody in the country. It's an unprecedented recruiting cycle in terms of having 2 franchise tackles like that within the state of South Carolina. It's just not a state that, you know, for every Alex Barron or Brandon Shell or whoever, you know, there's years where you don't have guys like that. But this is it's a big time tackle class. And then Franks is kind of, you know, if it weren't for those 2 guys, he'd be the top lineman in the state. He's kind of a swing guy. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He's powerful, big time. I like his run blocking ability. And yeah, early on, Alabama offered him. Wolford offered him at Alabama. Clemson offered him. Carolina offered him. They offered him early, but they, you know, they were behind. Obviously, Greenville High School is right there, you know, in Clemson's backyard. And South Carolina just sort of overcame, kind of like they did with Marquis Anderson, to be honest. So I think that, you know, when you look at it, it's a commitment that's, you know, very nice. It continues the momentum on the offensive line that Lonnie Teasley has on the recruiting trail right now. But incredible. Those in-state wins, guys, and they're not a lot of head-to-heads anymore. Back in the, you know, you think back to the 2000s when Tommy Bowden and Lou Holtz first got to Carolina, and there was still a problem with hemorrhaging players out of the state to other schools, and that doesn't happen hardly anymore. Georgia will come in and get one every now and then, but that both schools won't. But that's about it. You know, you think back to some of those battles where just about every top guy, and there were more top guys in the state then. The state probably went 15, 20 deep, and most the vast majority of them were Clemson or Carolina. Okay. That just doesn't happen anymore. I don't know why. Clemson does not recruit the state as heavily as maybe they once did because they don't really have to, or I don't think they have to. I think they have to, but they don't think they do. And so there's just not that Clemson-Carolina battle. And so anytime, if you're either school, you can beat the other school head up on a guy. I think it's sweet, and it speaks to what you're trying to establish within your own state recruiting-wise. And to get a kid from Greenville County that Clemson wanted, given all their success and things like that, I think speaks volumes. So hats off to Lonnie Teasley and Sam and all those guys that contribute to recruiting the offensive line at South Carolina. It is a team effort, but I think that I think that it's yet another great offensive line prospect coming to Carolina, and that helps. And they've got a bunch of them now, but it's also significant in terms of that in-state battle you're perpetually fighting, regardless if there's a ton of head-to-heads or not with your arch rival.
So let me ask you that right now. I've got two questions. Currently, Carolina's at 11 in the 24/7 composite. His commitment probably hops him back into the top 10, I'm assuming. Do you have a feel one way or another? I'm trying to figure out how to word this without putting you on the spot. But do you have a feel one way for another if his commitment tonight would also be one of the unknown welcome homes?
I think if it happens, it's probably safe to say it is.
Okay.
With those things, you got to be careful because
I know
you got to kind of, you don't want to ruin the moment, but after the fact, I do think that could be a strong possibility. So,
okay. Yeah, I know. I know, man. And I apologize. It was more of a fan question because I know somebody's going to ask it anyways. And
yeah, sure.
All right. So my next question. Yeah.
And you're right. It does move them back up. They'll pass with the commitment of Franks. According to we have the class calculator on 24/7 Sports that can calculate your team ranking. That would move them up past. They're 11th right now behind Texas Tech and Florida. And it would move them up toward Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. At that, Pitt's 8th. That's weird to see Pittsburgh at 8th, but right now they're 8th. So South Carolina would go up past Florida again, back into the top 10 nationally recruiting.
And we still have another unknown welcome home out there from Coach Beamer. I think a lot of people feel like they might know who that is. So with Cam Pringle already committed, or is it Cam Pringle already committed? Yeah.
Yeah. Cam Pringle.
And at this point in time, a high likelihood that Josiah Thompson is going to be on South Carolina's commitment roster at some point in time. Do you think that the commitments of those two young men did a little or heavily would influence the decision of Blake Franks? Or is that even a fair question?
With Thompson and Pringle, it didn't negatively impact it. And I think with offensive line recruiting, one of the really awesome things they do, Lonnie Teasley and Sam Searby and all those guys that kind of work in it, they tend to recruit like as a group. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, they're out there saying, they're not out there going, oh, we need Pringle and Thompson as our two bookends. And, oh, yeah, it'd be nice to have Blake Franks. They're saying this is the Great Wall of Carolina, right? And we want you to be a part of it. And they kind of treat everybody equally, which I think is a good strategy because, that shows you the coaching staff's not really caught up in, these guys are 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. They all, want to be a part of it. And I think, frankly, on the offensive line, it is such a crapshoot. Because, like an old coach told me one time, if you sign 5 and 3 of them work out, that is a heck of a class. I think that collective effort and it not only helps set the tone for your recruiting and once is very inclusive and doesn't really get guys sitting there worried about depth chart and numbers and all that, because you're kind of recruiting them as a group. But I think it sets the tone for when these guys get there and become an offensive line. You hear the word cohesiveness a lot. I think stressing that togetherness and that cohesiveness from the start, as early as the recruiting process, it helps down the road to pay dividends for what you're trying to accomplish on the field once these guys get here and get enrolled. And by the way, they will pass Pitt by 0.2 points, so they'll move up to what, 7th in the country, 8th, if they get Franks tonight.
So they go to 8, bump Pitt tonight, and Pitt has 10 commitments. Carolina only has 5.
Yeah,
which would be 6 tonight if they get this in. I tell you what, man, you look at the 23 class. You look at the Phil. You might have mentioned this here before. You look at the 23 class. Now you look at the possibility of what this 24 class could shape out to be. Talking about up front on the offensive line, you're talking about Marquis Anderson, who my understanding is he's every inch of 6'4". You're talking about Babalade at 6'7", Shivers, I think, at 6'7". You're talking about Pringle and Thompson 6'6" and 6'7". You're talking about Franks at 6'6". I mean, if these guys can move, which all reports say they can, you were the first one that I heard publicly, Mr. Schubert, last year say that the young man, the Shivers kid who had originally committed to Vanderbilt and decommitted and then committed to South Carolina, the word that you had received from very qualified and credible sources that you trust was this kid, don't look at the fact that he was committed to Vanderbilt. He's got a shot to do something special. So my point is, you look at the size and from what we understand, the mobility and the meanness of all these guys in these two groups here. I'm not sure that we've seen that maybe ever, or at least since I've been following recruiting to Carolina. And if they pan out, somebody probably won't, but if the large majority of them do, you're going to see offensive lines that generally resemble what you see at Georgia and Alabama and LSU at South Carolina.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean,
for creating a championship level program.
Yeah, be good in the trenches, no doubt.
Yeah, it's they got to develop, but yeah, you're right.
That's incredible.
And if they get Josiah Thompson, let's just play, what if again, they would move up to 5th in the country with 7 commitments. As things stand now, other teams can get commitments between now and then, and it's different, and I'm a liar. But right now, it's if they got Thompson too, it would move them up to 5th. And, guys, Franks will be the lowest rated commit in the class. He's a high 3-star.
There's been years where that's been the highest.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so – it's shaping up to be a really good looking class. I know there's some specific needs they have to fill that they have not yet, but it's coming. And, everything you hear, I mean, I think Cam Pringle's elite. I disagree with our guys at 24/7 Sports that have this philosophy that because of kids, and look, it's a sound philosophy if you're just blanketly, if you're kind of on the fence about somebody, but there's some kids that are 340 pounds right now that can move, that aren't going to lose a step. Those kids are the ones that, like Cam Pringle, that end up at Georgia and Bama. And I think Georgia had like a 370-pound guy that was a 5-star a couple of years ago. So I disagree and that's what's kind of holding his overall ranking back. But he's 6'7", 330. Then Josiah is more of the guy, he's around 270, 280 with that frame that you bulk up. And he's good. I've heard nothing but great things about Michael Smith, the tight end. Wendell Gregory is a stud linebacker from Marietta. We all know Mazio Bennett was heavily recruited, once committed to Tennessee, another Greenville High guy. And then Dante Reno has probably one of the best arms in the country. So, just with the little group they have now, I mean, it's a quality bunch and could end up being like one of those classes that we look back on and say, well, this is when it really got the talent level really started getting to that next level. It's hard to quantify that now these days with the portal and everything else, because, you're not just looking at recruiting rankings and talent coming in a given class and then applying it and saying, well, and projecting it that way. because you never know how good these guys are going to be from the portal. I mean, you know, like I said many times, South Carolina beat Clemson last year because of the play of a Wingate transfer, an East Tennessee State transfer, and a James Madison transfer. So, you know, who knows, you know, really. But as far as the high school recruiting goes and getting more blue chips on the roster, you know, this class is appears to be right now, another step forward from 2022, which is a good class, and 2023, which is an excellent class. You know, this one could be even better when you're talking about players from the high school ranks.
When will we see the next rankings adjustment, JC? I know we just went through one, kind of like the first one for 2024, but when should we expect another?
They do it along. Probably, I would say the next time would be around June, because you're kind of in the middle of like spring Nike camps and Under Armour camps and stuff like that, where traditionally evaluators are out there. And I know I used to stay gone from like March 1st to Memorial Day, going to Nike camps and Nike football training camps, Elite 11, things like that. And so analysts are on the road right now. It's a very key evaluation period. I quite frankly wish they would not release rankings, and you can't do it, obviously, because people want to see the rankings, right? At Rivals, when I was there, we didn't release rankings until like June 1st, heading into their senior year, after we had gone across the country and Nike camps, whatever, seen people, gotten filled. Everybody has a firm offer list, that kind of thing. So, you know, I'm old school like that, and I wish they would wait. But I think that, to answer your question, that's probably the next target date that they'll have for all of that. And I'll say this too: it used to be more kids showed up to Nike camps and stuff. Now these days, it's you know, they kind of half of them show up, half of them don't. But you know, so that's kind of the time frame with that.
Amazing. I remember when I was in school and they you used to see a bunch of these linemen. Some of these guys I knew, Hutch Eckerson and all these guys that they used to remember when the scooter craze, the scooters came out and everybody was always riding around in all these scooters and stuff like that. And you'd be like, that guy's 6'7", 300 or 6'3", 320 pounds on all these little scooters. Now I'm picturing like all these monsters riding around on
6'7", riding a razor scooter.
That guy is 6'7", like Michael Lynn here in the Nana Sports chat box. How big is Fugar? Michael, he is 7'4", 498 pounds.
Think Thanos.
He shoots fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his eyes.
He walks his car down the street. I mean, it's like it's crazy what they're doing. But we do need to hit a timeout. Speaking of scooters, actually, maybe we should get them all. Maybe they make some of these bikes strong enough to hold a Sidney Fugar or a Cam Pringle or whomever else it may be. Electric Bikes of Charleston here in the Low Country, but everybody comes from all over the state, and they're on the beach, they're in the mountains, they're in the Midlands, they're everywhere. Warranties are better than anywhere else that you'll find. Aventon. If you know anything about electric bikes, you know about Aventon bikes, you know about Magnum, you know about Velotric. They have all those there. Gamecock owned and operated. And if you're not a student or not an offensive lineman and you just want to be like Latte Lance and cruise around and have a brewski or something, you can go up to 28 miles an hour. So, and 60 miles. 60 miles. That's a lot of beer. Make sure you check out electricbikescharleston.com. And then whenever you head in there, you tell Michelle we said hello. We know some of you've got some tax dollars coming back. Maybe you're looking to spend it on something fun. Get out there with the family. This is a great place to do it. By the way, it's also the home of Charleston Fitness Equipment. I mean, you can get all kinds of stuff. And you should see the rowing machine, dude. You can row like 4,000 different lakes and rivers and stuff in the world virtually in this rowing machine. Pretty cool stuff. So make sure you check them out, electricbikescharleston.com. All right, when we return, we'll begin to wind things down. Maybe we'll make some picks for the Final Four this weekend. And then I'll show you, speaking of electric bikes, why you would need to ride one 600 miles if you eat this meal in Atlanta. Yeah, if you're going to go watch the Braves and you get this and you live in the state of South Carolina, you might want to ride a bike home instead of getting back in your vehicle for multiple reasons. Hang tight. We'll be right back. The days of being back in the pool and boat are quickly approaching. Many of us don't have the time to hit the gym, but Charleston Fitness Equipment can change that for you. Outfit your home with a treadmill, elliptical, or my favorite, a home rower that allows you to row with the pros all over the world. They have free weights, home gyms, flooring, and much more that makes keeping or getting in shape much more convenient. Located in Mount Pleasant, visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com for more. Get in shape like our Gamecocks. Charleston Fitness Equipment, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Daddy, I want you to take me to Disney World.
Calm down. JC is here. As y'all know, folks, the family and I have visited Disney World many times, but it can be overwhelming, especially if it's your first time going to the most magical place on earth. I highly recommend wherethisroadleads.com and my friend Cherie, a certified Disney vacation planner. That's right, the mouse has given her permission to book your family vacation hassle-free. You don't know where to go, don't know where to stay, don't know where to eat, don't know what to do. It can be overwhelming. So get on wherethisroadleads.com and schedule your free consultation right now. She can help you out. The prices are very reasonable. You don't pay any extra fees. In fact, she's much more reasonable maybe than booking it straight through Disney. So for your next Disney vacation, or, more likely your first, so you don't panic, go to wherethisroadleads.com and talk to Cherie, certified Disney vacation planner, a partner of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Go Cox!
Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express Sunrooms, live from the Sinorama Studios. And look at that delicious monstrosity back behind JB.
Do you see this?
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to be like a weatherman for a second.
I'm going to have to run downstairs and take another cholesterol pill just looking at that.
Coming from the west, we have waffles. This is in Atlanta. This is called the cleanup burger. So you've got
it's a burger.
More like clean out.
It serves 4 people unless you're Sydney Fugar. It serves half of one. It's got 4 all beef patties, hash browns, sunny side up fried egg, cheddar cheese, maple syrup, and hickory smoked bacon, and they are meshed between buttermilk Belgian waffles.
And it'll only set you back $50.
Hold on. I'm trying to. Anybody in the Low Country understands what I'm trying to Rob Fowler my way through this thing. Those they call those French fries, and they shove them in the middle, and then you got the rest of this crap. Would y'all eat that?
No. I wish I had a telestrator right now.
I'm just gonna sit over here.
It's too sweet for me. I mean,
here on
the
out,
syrup.
I couldn't do that.
Syrup, and I don't do eggs on burgers.
I don't.
I know it's supposed to be delicious. It's supposed to be
like
delicious,
eggs on burger, but I don't do syrup on anything but like.
So
I can't do syrup and eggs.
I'm a very, even if I eat pancakes and waffles, I'm a very light syrup guy.
Yeah,
I'm more like butter on it. But anyway,
would you eat that? No. Would you take
eat
a bite? Would you try it?
I mean, I'd try it. Why wouldn't you? I'd try it. Why not?
That's too sweet for me, especially at a ball game where I'm having beers. It just doesn't mix with beers.
Oh,
I wouldn't even pay for that.
I wonder how much it is. I couldn't eat that with beer. You would never. You'd explode. You'd blow up. I mean, that's impossible.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
gotta be $25 in the stadium. Gotta be at least.
About the only thing with bread I'll eat with beer is like a hot dog at a stadium.
Bill.
Probably so.
If it feeds 4 people,
oh, it feeds 4. Oh, that's $50. Yeah,
I bet that's I bet it's $40 or $50. Like if you really think about it, that's on the list is on bustedcoverage.com. The 13 best and craziest ballpark foods. Strawberry churro cheesecake at in Oakland. So if you're one of the 3 or 4 people that goes to watch the A's play this year,
the A's, they're just there for the churro cheesecake.
Yeah. The Bronx
we're
burrito.
just here.
The Bronx
We're just
burrito
here for
has
the
fried. Have y'all ever had fried plantains?
Fried plant. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I've never
the
had them.
Brazilian Steakhouse has them. Yeah.
Are they good?
It's pretty good. South American.
Get them at Tropical Grill up here. Yeah. Not bad. Not my cup of tea though.
Here you go, JC. In Chicago, at the Cubs games, you got to go to a Cubs game though. The quesadilla, barbacoa, Spanish onions, Chihuahua cheese, spicy ancho chile sauce.
Those bunch of front runners, they don't have. The Cubs can go stink it as far as food. I've got the white dude. It's a national holiday in Chicago when the White Sox new food menus are announced because let's just say the South Siders are a little more on the hefty end than the North Siders in Chicago, and then the Cubs are basically a tourist attraction anyway. No offense, Phil.
They're also en route to 162-0 this year. I'll have you know.
Shut the Brewers out last night.
Cubs Braves NLCS undefeated.
So just for example, the White Sox new menu items this year include an elotes corn dog, which is a corn dog smothered in queso and topped with jalapenos with grilled corn on top of it. The champagne of dogs half-pound Vienna beef footlong frank served on a brooch bun, topped with champagne, Vidalia relish, and habanero mustard. That's amazing.
Relish. Mm-hmm.
The Belgian burger, or the Belgian banger, half-pound spicy Polish sausage on a Bavarian pretzel bun, complete with sweet orange caramelized onions, red cabbage slaw, and topped with crispy chopped bacon bits.
Now that sounds good.
I mean, it goes on hot honey chicken loaded fries, bite-sized popcorn chicken, tossed in the sweet heat of hot honey barbecue sauce, served on a bed of French fries.
Well, the Dodgers
goes on and on and on. I mean,
the Dodgers have tempura deep fried cheesecake. That's worth a trip to LA, in my opinion.
I would try a deep fried cheesecake.
Absolutely,
I like fried cheesecake's pretty solid.
And you dip it in raspberry sauce. You got it. How about in Texas? Did y'all see that at the Rangers ballpark? The Boomstick Burger, 2 feet of chili cheeseburgers and onion rings, and nacho sauce and jalapenos. 2 feet of burgers, all in 1 2-foot long.
You got to be eating these in a box, right? Could you imagine carrying that stuff back to your seat?
No, that's the logistics are terrible. The logistics there would just be terrible. You know, I'm like,
oh my God. 50. Here you go, Phil. $50 in Miami. 34 inches long, 2.5 pounds, roasted mojo pork, sweet ham, cheese, mustard, pickles, and a special sauce.
That's a Cuban sandwich there, man.
It's a Cuban. Well, here you go. I don't know much Spanish, but I could probably figure this one out. Cubano gigante. Giant Cuban.
Gigante.
So anyway, Michael Fugar is 6'5", 315. He came in at 322. He's lost 7 pounds. Just to kind of fill you in on that. But,
Derek Scott has told me of the. I'm sorry, I'm not even paying attention anymore. I'm so
and Clint has another question about. Sorry, my headphones just went off.
Derek Scott told me about this.
You want to talk about front running foods?
That's what Derek told me about the Skyline nachos at Cincinnati.
Nah, please.
I can't stand Skyline chili.
Wait, are you seeing this in New York? Sunday donuts, ice cream shakes. Ugh.
Yeah, that doesn't look appealing at all.
That looks awful.
My kids would love that, but no way.
Give me a beer and a brat, like the movie, like Field of Dreams, like James Earl Jones. I'm simple, What it comes beer and a brat. Well, beer and a brat.
Has anybody shopped at Lowe's Foods? Does anybody out there shop at Lowe's Foods? Do you ever go?
I did when I lived in South Carolina. They don't.
No, but I hear you can drink beer in Lowe's, right?
You can.
You can.
Beer.
You can have.
Not,
you can
not
also
in,
get.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also get hammered at the Harris Teeter on Augusta Road in Greenville.
I'm assuming you've done
I haven't been there or anything, right? You can.
Well, I tried to drink beer in like actual Lowe's one time. They asked me to leave. So.
Oh, like Lowe's, the home improvement store.
Y'all got any?
That's why I
got
shop
any
at Home Depot.
dishwashers?
Quantrell says, "Better which breakfast food's more elite, waffle or pancakes?" I'm a waffle guy.
I'm a waffle guy too.
That's unfair. You can't ask that question, Quantrell, because you can't replace the Waffle House waffle with just some slappy pancake. But then you go to Joey's Pancake House in Maggie Valley, and you're like, I'm a pancake guy. So, JC, hello.
You have
my in-laws are here, and somebody forgot to put up the dog.
I hear that.
Almighty.
It's Friday, man. He's been drinking.
Just close it out, man. I'm gonna mute my mic. Good. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm about to have to go deal.
Look at that. Look, yeah.
If anybody is looking to adopt, JC's got a. If you've got a dog named Blue, what? Coming here. Oh my sweet. Thank the good Lord that baseball is back. Baseball.
So fun. That's what you were talking about Bally's yesterday, JC. I mean, JB, CB, hell, who knows? It's Friday. Give me a break. That's the only reason I keep my XM subscription anymore. That way I can listen to the radio call every time.
This is a conversation for another day. Maybe we'll get Corey McCartney on from Atlanta and allow him to give us some more info on it. But Major League Baseball is in a really good spot with players, but they have done as bad of a job as you can dream of in marketing their players and organizations to America. They've been so concerned with marketing it worldwide that they have literally forgotten about how to do that here. The NBA's figured it out. The NFL's figured it out. The NHL's figured it out. We can't figure it out with Major League Baseball. You know, they can put professional volleyball on NBC, but Major League Baseball can't slip in there. Come on.
They took us for granted for too long.
They screwed it up. So, but these guys have not screwed it up. TravelingCountryClub.com. Look outside. Next week is Masters Week. They'll present Masters Week all week long on our program. We'll be having some special programming Thursday and Friday for the Masters. This is when golf cranks up in my life. Oh, the Masters is back. Thank God. Mm-hmm. That's when you start playing a bunch. If you want to play a bunch and you want to play great courses in 2 states, this is what you need. TravelingCountryClub.com. This is, I'm telling you, it is so worth it. It's awesome. I can't believe these guys even invented this idea and then decided to partner with us. TravelingCountryClub.com. All right, did we miss anything, Phil? No, right? 2 TV night?
Covered all our bases. Yep, 2 TV night. Ladies tip off at 9. What, first pitch at 7 o'clock again?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's rack up 2 more wins tonight.
This could be a great day for the Gamecocks. Blake Franks will commit somewhere at 6:30. Carolina throws the first pitch at 7, and the women tip at 9, as Phil just pointed out. So Latte Lance will be rocking and rolling. We will all join him, hopefully, in what could be a great evening for Gamecock Athletics. Here's the good news. We're going to be here to recap all of this on Monday, and we can't wait to do it. And as we mentioned, to also kick off Masters Week. So for Phil and JC and Stuart Lake and Sawyer Nix, I'm JB. Have a wonderful weekend. See you Monday.